Hi all, so welcome to today's tutorial. So we will continue our series. In previous tutorial we added the mathematical calculations in our vector, but we haven't tested them, so we will test them first. So this was our first vector. Let's create second vector and let's have 12, 12, 12. So they are equivalent, right? We will create one more vector, vector, vector total is equals to vector 1 and vector 2. So this should give the addition of this vector. If I do want to print the value of this vector, we can just do like this and it will print the value. And let's do multiplication, addition and the same. So because we have plus, minus and multiplication, so let's test them. So add. Okay, this is for add. Next is multiplication, multiplication, and for this it will be like vector multiply with vector 2. Same will go with the subtraction. So subtraction, and for this it will be like vector minus vector 2. Okay, the multiplication is what working out. Let's check why. When we are multiplying them together, it will give us a vector. It is all good. Give me a second, let me replace this. Give me a second, let me test something like this. Nope, it is still not working. Let me put this in the bracket. Why is this not working? It is not treating this as vector if I'm not wrong. If I will just use like this, will it work? Let me test. Yes, so the addition is not working. It is not calculating the expression, so we have to replace it with the variable only. So here we will write subtraction and multiplication. Subtract, and we will replace with subtraction also. So instead of this, we'll just add subtraction and give a space. Okay. Okay, so can you guess like why it was giving us that error? If you will look carefully when we are overriding that plus and minus, we it is accepting the value by reference, and value by reference means it has to be the L value. C plus plus we do have two concept, L value and the R value. L value means where we can store the value. Let's imagine if I am writing int L equals to 4, A equals to 24. So 23 is a temporary value, so that means it is the R value, and A is the L value because we can store the value there. So here when we are passing the value as reference, that means it will just take L value. That is why it is not taking direct values like plus, minus and multiplication. Okay. So if we do want to modify that, let's imagine if I do want to change, like instead of this, I do want key, it should accept this also. So what we will do, we will go to that addition, and addition is one, right? So what we can do, we can just remove this, and here also we can write something like this, so it should work. it is not. Okay, there is one more change actually which we have to do. When we are overriding this operator, we have to remove this value by reference, so it will start working out. And I think we will just put the value by reference and it will start, it will still work because we are just passing the value there. And it is not working when we are, passing the value by reference here. And there's one more thing, I haven't tested that code out, but there's one more thing. If we will just put the const here, because I don't want uh, to change anything, right? We just want to print the value. If we will make it const, then it should also work, and it is working. So this was a really good concept. I hope you got that point. So it was multiplication. I will just make it multiplication, and for subtraction we'll just subtract the value. So this was just you to understand the concept of L value and R value. Okay, so this thing is done and our previous code is all working out. Let's test. Okay, it's done. Output log is here. As soon as I will click simulate, it is printing the value. These are the two vectors. This is the addition, this is multiplication, this is subtraction. So it is all working good. We are printing the value 2 times. The reason being is when we are using this, when we are overriding, this operator, in constructor also we are printing. So I will just remove it because we don't need to print anything when you are using constructor. We just need to print out here. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, next is in our vector, we have introduced this print function, but I also want to include like draw function. Let's imagine when we do want to print the vector, how we will do that. So void draw vector, and for this vector, what we will do, we will draw a line, and in the add point we will add the sphere, so it will give you that arrow like feel. So we will do it, give me a second, we will do it something like this, like, so this is the vector representation, like if it is moving from A to B. So this is the vector. For what we will do, we will just draw a line and we will make a sphere at the end of that vector. So uh, I will request you to do it on your own. If not, then just follow with us. So okay, I will just first declare it and we'll generate the function. And we have a function called draw line, draw debug line inside Unreal. So it accept world variable, starting and the end. So we will define those variable u world comma world comma m vector, because we are using m vector. So it is vector starting comma, and by default we do want to start from 0 0 0, so we will like initialize it 0 0 comma 0 comma 0 comma, the draw color. By default I do want use red color, so f color uh, draw color, and by default I do want to use the red color, so f color red comma. Next is give me a second, what all variables do it want. One is the line start, so what was the name again, vector start, no, not starting, vector start point, vector start point comma. Next is the line end we do want. So in our case, when we are defining the last point is the vector itself, but if the starting point is not 0, then it will be the different, right? So the last vector will be the last point of that vector will be vector starting point plus vector last point. So this dot, I think this, yes, comma. I will explain this what I have written. Uh, Comma. We do want to use the color. So draw color, comma. Next, do you want to print it as persistent line? Yes. Next is floating time -1, depth right is 0. The thickness is important to us, so by default I want thickness to be 3 when we are printing our line. So perfect. Okay. Okay. The next error which we are getting is like when we are using this function, it wants a f vector and we are using m vector. So what we will do, we will create one function a utility function which will convert our m vector to f vector. So let's do that here only. F vector to f vector, and inside this function what we will do, give me a second, let me just copy paste it. F return f vector, and here what we will do, we will just x y comma z and alt enter, just create declaration. Okay, and we can define it as constant if I'm not wrong. Yeah, and we can actually define all the function constant because we are not modifying any value, right? So we'll just put constant here. This function also okay, this is good. Next is this one function actually float variable, sorry, thickness. By default I do 1 to 3, so I will just copy paste it. Okay, so vector starting point dot to f vector, same with this dot to f vector. Okay, so let me explain what I have done. So draw debug line, it is the NDL function which want these parameter, right? World is starting and end. Rest is not important because they have the default value when we are using them. So, but I do want to override the thickness. That is why I'm filling everything out. So world is just I'm passing the parameter. When we do want to start, it expect me to put the f vector, and we are creating our own creation m vector. So that is why we need a utility function. So that is why I'm just creating one function to f vector. So from the current we can just change it to the f vector. So our starting point dot to f vector and end point what we have done. So let's imagine when we have this grid, this is 0 comma 0, and if I'm writing some function and this is 1 2 3 4 something like let's make it 5, so it will be like 5 comma 5, right? It will like approximately, I'm just writing it down, 4 3 4 5. So this vector will be 5 comma 5. The starting point is 0 comma 0. So in this case, by default, it is 0, and the starting point will by default will be 0. But let's imagine if I am moving this vector 1 point on the x axis, so it will be like this. In this case, the endpoint will be 6 comma 5, and the starting point will be 1 comma 0. If you will minus it, like like 6 comma 5 with 1 comma 1 1 comma 0, it will be equivalent to 5 comma 5 only. But right now when we do want to print this vector, the starting point and the ending point is quite important, right? So when we, let's imagine when I draw the second vector, this 6 comma 5 1, 6 comma 5 1, this vector, the starting point was important to us because we do want to draw from 1 comma 0. So what it will do, the starting point will be 1 comma 0, and for the end point, now the end point will be by default xy value will be like 6 comma 5, right? And to get 6 sorry, the vector will be like 5 comma 5 only, but as we are starting from 1 comma 0, we will add, that is why we are adding it. So the vector starting point will be 1 comma 0 for the second vector, and we are putting a star because this by default is a pointer, and we do want to have the value itself, so that is why we are just pointing a star with this. I hope you understand this concept. So this was for the debug line. Just alt enter, change the signature. Next, 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 next. I will just copy. Will change the control D and change the variable. Will copy because the default value will be there inside the header only, header file only. We don't need the default value in the CPP file. So in the CPP, we will just define the variable, and in our header file, we have to define what is the default value which you do want. So we know, like by default, Unreal consider the starting of a vector at 0, 0, 0. That is why I'm defining it as 0, 0, 0, the starting point. Whenever we, like in our case, let's let me go through that concept again. If I am drawing some variable from here, which the value was 1 comma 0, right, and I am going to 6 comma 0, when I will initialize this variable, we will initialize it like m vector comma 6, sorry, 5 comma 0. Reason being is we will just, we will minus like b minus a, so it will be like 5 comma 0. So the x is 5, y is 0. I'm right now I'm not considering z axis. So when we do want to draw this vector, the starting point is 1 comma 0, right? So we will put the starting point like 1 comma 0 comma 0, and the vector value is like 5 comma 0, right? So the endpoint will be addition of these two. When we will add it, it will be like 6 comma 0. So we are drawing our line from 1 comma 0 to 6 comma 0. I hope you understand the concept now. Okay, this was for the draw vector. What if I do want to represent a point like with the m vector variable? Because when we started the m vector class, we already like understand, right? Like with the same class, we can represent a point too. So we will just make one more draw draw point, and I will just copy some variable. And I don't think we need the starting point here because we are just representing a point here. So thickness, I do want to be the same, do we? Yes, or actually 5. I do want alt enter, generate definition. So draw debug sphere. So world comma, so in this function, this is the utility function which Unreal provide to draw a debug function, sorry, debug sphere. So we have to apply the center. So when we are talking about the point, we are not talking about vector anymore. So in that, the f we need to provide the f vector. So like we will call 2f vector, comma. When we are calling 2f vector, we are talking about the current object. Okay, the radius will be 5. Uh, okay, next is the segment 32, comma color. We do want to use the default draw color we do have. Okay, draw color. Next variable is like persistent, yes, and lifetime -1, comma 0, comma thickness. Thickness is quite important, so we have already provided that. Okay, perfect. So this is also going to be a constant because we are not changing any class variable. Okay, when we are drawing some vector from A to B, we do want to draw a sphere at B point. So what we will do, we will call our debug point also after draw debug line. So draw point, world comma draw color. In our case, the color will be draw color, comma. The thickness is 5 because I do want to. Uh, Actually, thickness we can just use the same. It's just the radius which we don't want to change. Okay. So I have done one mistake here while because the correct format is like when I'm defining some variable like from here to here. I do want to draw a sphere here. Okay. So I'm calling this function. So is there something wrong? Yes, actually. So the reason being is it will work with when I'm starting my vector with origin itself. What if I'm drawing my vector from here, like somewhere else, but not the origin? In that case, the point will be drawn like the starting point plus the current vector, right? Because let's imagine if I'm let's have an example of the previous example also. So the this is the same vector. So the correct same the value will be 5 comma 5. Sorry, this will be 5 comma 5. And when I will move it one step, 1 unit in the x direction, it will be like 6 comma 5. When we are talking about vector, these two are the similar vector, and the vector value will be like 5 comma 5, right? So when we do want to draw the point, and if the origin is like 1 comma 0, in that case we will draw when we will call the draw point, it will draw the sphere at 5 comma 5, not at 6 comma 5. So in that case, if we want to correct this, what we have to do, we have to add our vector start point. So let's do that. Dot so we will vector start point plus pointer this, and we will draw the point. This is perfect. I hope you got this concept. So let's try our code. In game mode, I will just define two vectors. One is this. Let's draw one more vector. Uh, like make something in x direction. So maybe like 500, 0 comma 0. So it will be like in 2D plane. And let's consider it by 400, 500, 500 and 0. And we will call draw function. So vector dot draw vector get world comma starting is 0, so I don't want to override anything. So I just want to draw these two vector. So let's open Unreal, compile. Perfect. Let's play. Okay, it is working perfectly. So if you are looking like this, give me a second. So this is so right now here you can see this is our x-axis and this is the 500 unit. So just to visualization, I will hop to the top. Here you can see this is 500 in the x direction, and we have this sphere at the correct position. We are pointing it right. And when I am going down, it is pointing 500 comma 500. This is perfect. Okay. So what if I do want to add, when I do want to draw a vector after addition. So let's imagine just for the visualization, what I will do, I will create two vector. One is this and one is this. And let's imagine this is like 500 comma 500, 500 comma 0, because this is x-axis. And this function, and for this variable, when I will, because the origin should always be 0, so we will just make a parallel vector So this will be equivalent to this vector. So the value will be of this vector will be 0, 500, right? So I do want to calculate the resultant of these two. So the resultant will be like this, right? So let's see if we can if we have created our function correctly. So the function, the value of first vector was 0, 500 when we are talking about the y-axis. For the x-axis it was like 500, 0. And we do want to draw these two vector and one addition vector, vector plus vector 2. Let's see how it will look. Give me a second, let me compile. Okay, see, this is working perfectly. These two are the vector. So let's imagine I do want to visualize correctly, right? Because this vector should start from here, not from here. So I have to provide the starting point of our vector. So what we will do here, when I'm drawing the second vector, the first vector is correct because it is starting from here only. So this is correct, but I do want to draw this one. Right now it is drawing from here because by default it is starting from 0, 0, 0. So I have to provide the starting. Okay, let's do it then. Okay, here when I'm drawing this one where the x is 0, I will just apply comma. The vector starting point will be the vector second. Okay, vector second, because this is where the vector one ends. Sorry, vector second ends. Okay, let's check if it is working fine or not. Save, Unreal, compile. Okay, let me compile, and this is making perfect sense. This is going this way. This is vector 2, this is vector 1, and this is the resultant vector. Okay, so this is working perfectly. So I hope you have understand the concept. So